Hello everyone, Michael here for Tactica Imperialis with episode 4 of An Aelfen Adventure. Today is going to be a slightly quicker update. I just want to bring you up to date with the most recent model that I have finished, as well as talk about Game 2 in the campaign that we're doing at Games Workshop at the moment. It's not going to be the longest of episodes compared to episodes 1, 2, and 3. At any rate, I doubt it's going to go that long because we have less models to talk about. But let's get it out of the way. If you have missed any of the previous episodes, make sure to click in the description. That will take you to the Aelfen Adventure playlist, and you can have a look at everything that we've done in the series so far. For now, though, let's get on with episode 4 of An Aelfen Adventure. Just the one model for you today, folks, and that is the Dreadlord on Cold 1, because he's finished. In the last episode, we finished the Cold 1, but now we've done the Dreadlord as well, and I have to say, I'm really happy with him. So let's have a look at him. So, as I said I was going to do in the last episode, he's painted pretty similarly to my Cold 1 Knights. He has red armour with gold trim, purple robes with blue trim. I've gone with an ice blue here, as it's sort of my army spot colour. Silver for the mail and the weapons, and I went with a really dark hair. Most of my elves are lightly haired, like blonde or white in the case of my witch elves. But I was going to go with jet black originally, and then just give it an ard coat for a bit of sheen. However, I didn't really like the look of it jet black, and my highlighting it for white would have made it just look like he was old and grey. So what I did instead was I painted it with a dark brown and left it at that. It's not the best hair I've ever done, but it's pretty good. If we have a look at his back, you can see that the damage from the first go when I actually chopped the arm off, you can still see it, but it's not too prevalent, which is kind of good. The other thing is his shield. Now, I was saying in the last episode that I wasn't sure whether to do a red or a purple shield, depending on the amount of red that was on the model. Well, the answer is a lot. A heck of a lot. And that means that I went with a purple shield. Two reasons, really. One, it's not covering any red armour, so he still looks just as red as he was before. Second, it's covering purple. So this section here is obviously, if we look at the other side of the model, purple, silver, and blue. So if I turn it back around, that's what we were covering was purple and blue. So that's what we did with the highlights. Got the gold edge like we did on the shields of the other Cold ones and the ice blue Hydra. I'll just show you my foot mounted Dreadlord just so you can see what I was talking about with these shields. So if you look at my foot Dreadlord, you can see he's got the Hydra pattern on his shield as well, purple with the blue trim. That's why I was weighing up whether to do this guy with a purple or a red shield. And for consistency with Bunk's Dreadlords, this makes sense. However, he does have that second purpose as a Cold 1 Knight unit champion, and so for my actual Cold 1 Knights, I might do them with purple shields as well, just to distinguish them as a separate unit. I have started on the second unit of Cold 1 Knights, so I'm just going to move this guy out of shot, and I'm going to bring in my Cold 1 Standard Bearer. Now, I've only really done the Cold 1's flesh, I've done the scales, first coat, and I've done the banner. I have actually got the banner detachable, so you can have a look at it just on its own. So it's red banner with a blue central region and then orange rim on that central region, which then loops around into this middle section. You see there's orange and blue there, there's orange and blue there, and then I've just done some runic work. The middle section in the blue is transfers. You can probably tell on the cane rune particularly that there's a bit of that edge that you get with transfers, and I think you need matte varnish to get rid of that. I might get some of that down the line. But the two on the outside are both done in freehand. They're both runes from the Dark Elf transfer sheet, just I made them bigger. If I just lie this down on my laptop, so you can have a look at them. That's what they look like. I've done them in white, but I wasn't quite happy with the white's precision, so I just filled it in black. So I'll turn this over. We've got the Bleeding Heart, that's Harganeth, because I've changed my Cold 1's banner from the other unit, so it's now Harganeth rather than Hagraeth. So everything's going to be consistent, sorry. I also went around with a black rim on the heart for the simple reason that I accidentally cut off the top edge of the heart, so I needed to fill it in, and I went in with black. So I've done that on the rim of the heart. There's 3 transferred runes there, and then again 2 freehand runes on the other sections. And that's my painting for this episode. It's not much, I know, but my plan is I've got the Cold 1 Musician built, and I've got the Cold 1 Standard Bearer built. These guys are both detachable, and the horn comes off of him, so I'm going to be able to paint them up in the coming days, and then when we do episode 5, I will bring you the progress on them. I can almost guarantee that these 2 will be finished. I can't guarantee that the other 2 will be. I'll see how I'm doing next week for time. But But that's all that out of the way, so let's talk about the campaign game. Again, I just want to move a few models around, and then we'll talk about campaign game 2. Alright, time to talk about game 2 in the campaign. We were playing Lizardmen, which was probably my biggest worry going into this, was that Lizardmen were going to be really good. If you saw me talking about episode 3, I was talking about that I was worried about facing summoners, because I think summoning is really, really strong. So when I get drawn against Lizardmen, I'm thinking, oh boy, here we go. But it was less the case than I thought. The guy brought Lord Croak and Aslan. He brought Krokgar, which is the Carnosaur Lord, a Bastillodon, an Oxyotl, a Skink Priest, a Skink Wizard. Apparently they're 2 different things now. And a bunch of Chameleon Skinks and some Cold One Knights. And some Ripperdactyls. He didn't set most of that up, though. The Ripperdactyls, the Chameleon Skinks, and the Oxyotl were all off-board. So his army was pretty small to start with. I asked him about what his summoning pile was, and he said he was just summoning about whatever died. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, I can beat this. So the list I ran, you can see the new elements here. Well, most of them anyway. So we have the 2 assassins added in, the Death Hag, 10 more Witch Elves, and 5 more Dark Shards compared to the list that we ran last time, which is pretty much what I said I was going to do. I'll have some comments on the list a little bit later. And we're playing the same mission with relics and hunting for treasure and then making the relic spawn. I was pretty well set to do this, and again, I was facing a summoning army, so I thought, right, smash and grab. My safe zone is in a nice central area. If I can get this in a good place, there were 4 different spawn points this time. If I can get it in a good spot, I can easily dart back to my safe zone with my Cold One Sorceress, Cold One Knights, or Witch Elves, of which I had 20 this time, so I was pretty confident that I could easily take this game out. He got to go first and immediately unleashed a load of BS on me. But having faced Chaos, I don't think his Lizardmen nonsense is actually that nonsensical. I mean, it was strong. It was definitely strong. But his Lord Croak spell only blinked a couple of wounds off a couple of things. He was doing no summoning the first turn. He buffed a few things with Mystic Shield, sure, but it wasn't that bad for me. His first turn was pretty uneventful, other than the fact his Ripperdactyls arrived 3 inches away. Now, I was expecting him to say 9, because most things are 9 with summoning or appearance, like Stormcast, Deep Striking down. But no, 3 inches. And they're a combat unit, so yeah, rip whatever they landed next to, which in this case happened to be my Cold One Sorceress. His Chameleon Skinks also arrived. They can also spawn 3 inches away and teleport. But they spawned in a piece of terrain near his side of the board, but in a good position to take some shots. They then proceeded to wipe out all but 1 Cold One Knight. I left the Banner Bearer alive for the bravery bonus, and I was glad I did, because he passed his battle shock test, but my Cold One Sorceress was ripped apart by the Ripperdactyls. So yeah, rip her. Which was unfortunate, but I did get my vengeance pretty quickly. My Corsairs and a few Dark Shards turned around and blasted the Ripperdactyls away. As in the last game, I got off to a really rip-roaring start. I managed to secure treasure pretty quickly, got myself a nice lead, and started to do some damage. I didn't do that much on the first turn, because I was just trying to deal with the Ripperdactyls that had just appeared, but I managed to plink off his Cold Ones by a couple of wounds with my Bolt Thrower, and generally just get some stuff going. I managed to buff my Executioners as well, because he had advanced with his Carnosaur, and he left him close enough. He left him 16 inches away. So I needed a big charge. My Executioners, I felt confident could do it. Armed with Mystic Shield and Hellebron's command ability and a Musician, in they went. And I got the reroll, which gave me a 10-inch charge, so I made it. And one-shotted him. Again, like with Archaon in the last game, I didn't need Hellebron's command ability. I just one-shotted him. He had Mystic Shield on, and he still got one-shotted because I just put out 10 mortal wounds. He had 12 wounds in total, but I only had to do 2 more with like 15 hits. So he was just dead. Straight dead. Which was just amazing. I then forgot to move my Executioners in the next turn because I got a double turn. And I was really in a good position here. I gave the Witch Elves Hellebron's command ability because I thought if I want them to hit melee now, but they were a bit too far back to make their charge. The unmoving Executioners, by my idiocy, were not, however, and wiped out the Cold One Knights immediately. Again, 10 mortal wounds is disgusting. I also managed to plink off a few wounds from a couple of his heroes, so his Skink Wizard went down, his Oxyotl went down by a couple of wounds, and yeah, that was it, because I hadn't had a chance to summon anything in that turn yet. So I'd pretty much secured the left-hand side of the board. All he had on that left-hand side now was Croak and his Slann. Yes, I know, Croak and a Slann, but they were camping in a corner in a building, right, really far away, right, around the back of something. So it was going to take me a couple of turns to get to them. His turn comes around and he resummons his Carnosaur and whiffs the charge, and resummons his Cold One Knights and whiffs the charge, and resummons his Ripidactyls, and you guessed it, whiffs the charge. So in terms of actually doing anything on his second turn, he didn't do too much. He actually, no, hang on, did I? No, I didn't charge the Oxyotl that turn. He left his Chameleon Skinks where they were. I think he made a mistake there. He decided to keep them there because they have this ability where they can phase out and then reappear 3 inches away from anyone, anywhere, which includes in open ground. So I thought what he was going to do was phase them out and drop them in my sort of secure the relic zone, just blast everything from there. But he didn't. He kept it where it was and went after my Cauldron with it. He blinked about half the wounds off because when they roll a 6 to hit, they're double damage. And they have 2 shots each, and he had 20 of them. 21, actually. So he was doing 42 shots, 6 to hit with damage 2. I was lucky not to die. I only lost 6 wounds as it was, which was fine. He prioritized my shooting units hard, and it just didn't work for him. So after his always resummoning, he didn't get any charges off that turn. I think he tried to charge the Bastiladon into the Dark Shards to just try and get rid of them, because the Dark Shards were now mid-board and just trying to contest and lock him down, which is kind of how I like to play them. And it was working pretty well, but he failed to get his charge off, which is fine. I got turn again, despite the fact that Croak's command ability gave him a bunch of rerolls, like D3. But it's roll 3 dice on a 4+, you get a reroll for each 4+. And he just could not beat my initiative roll, so I kept getting the turn on him. So on my turn 3, I decided, you know what, enough is enough. We're going to go and wreck some face. So the Witch Elves came forward with Hellebron's command ability to go after the Carnosaur, which was shielded, and then the Executioners went after the Slann Croak combo. What I hadn't told my opponent was where my Assassins were. That's why these two are on screen. This guy was hidden in my Witch Elves. This guy was hidden in my Executioners. I had Shadowblade as well. He was still unrevealed, and, well, guess where he came out. Anyway, so in the shooting phase, I killed off his Skink Wizard. I think I killed him off this turn and then blinked a wound off his Skink Priest, and then shot about 4 Chameleon Skinks out of existence. I'd also found the relic by this point. It was in the mid-left, so it was on my side of the board in terms of who had control. And to be honest, I had control of the entire board, but it was in a really nice position for me because it was out of range of his summoners. His summoning units were about to get locked, with the exception of his Ripidactyls and Cold Ones, who were probably going to have to deal with the Witch Elves, which gave me a bit of time. And all I had to do was find it on a 5+. Unfortunately, my Witch Elves failed to do this. And my Death Hag just wasn't close enough at the time. I moved her into position to get it the next turn, though. I then went and launched a bunch of charges. The Corsairs and the Cold One charged the Skinks and the Oxyotl, respectively. The Corsairs managed to kill 1 because they have a 3+ save in terrain for no losses, and the Cold One and Oxyotl just plinked off each other for no damage. The Witch Elves charged the Carnosaur, and thanks to Hellebron's ability, one-shotted it again. Seriously, that Carnosaur was in 2 rounds of combat and never actually got to attack. It was amazing. The Witch Elves just went completely ham, and the Death Hags immune to battle shock, well, it didn't actually help because they were then wiped out the next turn by a million attacks. The rerolls of 1 to wound, because the Banner of Murder was on the other side of the board, was really useful for just getting through the Carnosaur's Mystic Shield. I only just killed it, but I killed it. The Executioners charged into Croak and the Slann, and both this Assassin and Shadowblade popped out. I failed to kill Croak because he just regenerated. I didn't do enough damage to him. He needed a 6 to die. And I took his other Slann down to 4 wounds from 10. I think they have 10 anyway. That's what he said they had. I took him down to 4, and I was all set to wipe them out the next turn. I was just feeling really good. I had board control. In terms of his actual starting army, all he had left were the Skink Priest and the Bastiladon. Everything else had either started off the board or had been summoned. Oh, and Croak and the Slann, but they died the next round. Pretty convincingly, in fact. The Executioners one-shotted the Slann and then put so many wounds on Croak, it was a 2-up to die, and he died. But that was in my next turn. He got priority this time, and I don't think he did too much. Actually, no, it was his turn next. He resummoned nothing, actually. He whiffed all his summoning rolls. He was running out of time, and we were just trying to get through the game. He discovered a bunch of treasure, which is kind of a side objective, and I had about 6 pieces. He had 9 by the end of the game because I stopped rolling because I'm a moron. I could have found another 6 if I'd actually looked for it, but I didn't. He took his chameleon skinks off the board and his oxyotl because they can phase out even when in combat because of reasons. And they went into reserve ready to come on next turn if we got round to it. He charges Ripidactyls into the Death Hag, leaving her with 1 wound. I didn't get a chance to attack back because we ran out of time. And then I said Croak and the Slan got wrecked. And the Bastiladon charged the Dark Shards this time, killing 3 or 4, but it was irrelevant by this point. And then we went round and did another sort of mini round, sort of. Basically, I rolled to try and find the relic with my Death Hag. And I failed. So, we look at the board at the end of the game, because we ran out of time again. And I had left on the board 9 Executioners, all of my Assassin trio, my Death Hag on 1 wound, my Cauldron on 3 wounds, because that had been blasted again with shooting. I think it was from the Bastiladon this time. I had all of my Corsairs, 1 Core, 1 Knight on 1 wound, about 7 to 10 Dark Shards, my Battle Standard Bearer, my Sorceress on foot, and my Bolt Thrower on 4 wounds, and my Medusa, which was on 1 wound. He had about 3 Core 1 Knights, which have been resummoned, 2 Ripidactyls, which have been resummoned. His Chameleon Skinks and Oxyotl were off board, but technically still alive. He had about 15 Skinks left, and is there anything else? Skink Priest, Bastiladon, Core 1s, Ripidactyls, Oxyotl Skink thing. Chameleon Skinks. No, that was it. So on models, I had him completely wrecked. My Witch Elves were wiped out by the Ripidactyls and Core 1 Knights, but I had done some damage to them as well. So on model count, I absolutely trounced him. And on terms of starting model count, I completely trounced him because he only had 2 left. This is where things get weird. Because I'd failed to secure the relic for the 2nd game in a row, I was left to play another game of Squig Tennis with my opponent to try and secure it. And I lost it. Again. What this means is I lost the relic and the game. Technically. In terms of actual Age of Sigmar rules, I wrecked his face. In terms of the campaign's rules, I lost the relic, which means I basically lost the game. I did get an ability on Hellebrand, which is basically if she does any damage, she gets more attacks. But the Cauldron never hits melee anyway. I don't use it that way. So while it's a fitting ability called Bloodlust, which fits Hellebrand being K-Knight/Cornate, apparently that was something that happened in the end times. It just is a useless ability. And I lost the relic. Despite the fact that for the 2nd game in a row, I had board control. I dominated the game. I'd pretty much tabled my opponent bar about 2 models in this case, about 12 last game, although most of them were Flames of Tzeentch, and he was going to lose the game. His summoners were all dead. All his wizards were dead, which was just great. But the problem I had was I was never going to secure the relic. The simple reason was, even if my Death Hag had got it and retreated and run and got away, his Chameleon Skinks would have popped up and shot her and killed her because they do 1,000,000 shots each. And this would have happened to any model or character that went to secure that relic, which meant I could never technically win. And I don't have a problem with mission objectives. What I have a problem with is when that is the only objective. 40k does a great job of this. If you play the relic, yeah, if neither side secures the relic, you have the secondary win conditions. First Blood, Slay the Warlord, Line Breaker. Technically, I had all of those. Well, I didn't have First Blood, actually. No, he had First Blood because he killed my Cold One Sorceress. But I was in his deployment zone, nice and comfortably, and his Warlord General, which was Croak, was dead. And mine wasn't. And in terms of actual Age of Sigmar win condition, I'd pretty much won the game completely and tabled him. Treasure I'd lost, but that was because I was not paying attention in the late game. I was being hurried. So I just felt really cheated for the 2nd time. Because for the 2nd game in a row, I'd played a textbook game. I'd set up right, I'd gone forward, I'd got the objectives, I'd secured where the relic was, I was all ready to go and grab it, and then lost to stupidness. Like, I have nothing wrong with a bit of fun in a game. But when you're playing a campaign where that relic controls how good you are in the game, because those relics are insanely strong. Like, one of them is, if I hit you with this bow, you can't move, and it has 3 shots. Or, this thing gives me a bunch of buffs to my casting and other stuff, and it gives me a bravery-based damager. It's so disgusting. And twice now, I have simply been denied by Squig Tennis. Both games, yes, I didn't have the relic, but I'd won the game. And I've lost twice. But, saying that, that's just the campaign. As far as the army itself goes, it's performing amazingly. The Witch Elves really proved it this time. They were fighting something with 12 wounds and a 3-up save, and still killed it. Admittedly, it needed the best part of 75 attacks to do it, but they killed it, which is great. My Executioners, again, were just godlike, just one-shotting everything. Like, their kill feed now includes 2 Greater Demons, 2 Slann, Archaon, some Cavalry, 20-ish Black Orcs, and 2 Black Orc big bosses, which is just insane. That kill feed is stupid for 15 guys. And they never get wiped out in return because my opponent just can't face them. No one can. They're ridiculous. My Assassins were amazing. Both did a good chunk of wounds to their targets. Shadowblade, as ever, was on fire. The Death Hag really helped the Witch Elves out. The Witch Brew was really useful because the Banner of Murder was elsewhere, and her extra attacks really did the difference, or giving out extra attacks was really good. My one weak link, I think, is the Bloodrack Medusa. I don't like to say it, but I think she's the weak link. So far, she's done nothing. Most people that are stored don't play big units. The biggest unit size you see is my stuff, where I bring units of 15. No one else really brings anything big, so for what the Medusa does, she's great against big stuff, like Cornblood Reavers, but not so much against what I'm facing, where I have multiple wounds rather than multiple dudes. So I'm going to take the Medusa out, I think, for the next game, and with the remaining 5 wounds, I can either add in Lockhear Fellheart, or my Dreadlord on foot, who I showed you earlier. Or I could take one more model out and put in the Dreadlord on Cold One. So I might take out, let's say, 1 Dark Shard and put in the Dreadlord on Cold One, just to see how he stacks up. Because there's some really useful things that he can do, which I talked about in the last episode, just to add some punch to my Cold One Knights. Command ability or no. So as far as the army itself is going, it's going great. As far as the campaign is going, it's going terrible. But that's not my fault. I'm playing the game, and I'm winning the game, and then losing because I can't roll a 5+. I had 3 chances at it, but I couldn't roll a 5+ 3 times, which meant that I was just getting wrecked by it. And it's really annoying. But the army itself is doing great. I think my best chance of winning now is, instead of just trying to secure this relic, unless I get it in a nice place, my best objective is just table. Because, yes, now people are packing these powerful relics, and I'm not, because of Squig Tennis. But my army is strong enough to take anyone on and win. It is ridiculously strong at what it does. I mean, yes, I've only faced summoning armies, but anything with 130 wounds, I can still one-shot any monster that they bring, except Archaon, because I had to take half his wounds off before I one-shotted him. So, the army's going great. The campaign's going terribly. Hopefully, Game 3 will go better. I'll let you know how that goes next week. Hopefully, I can get my hands on a good relic, or at the least get a relic, just something, because if I lose again, I'm going to be out of the campaign. There's no way I'm going to get back in the campaign. Sure, my treasure hunting is going well, but I'm not getting the relics, and that's going to start costing me games if I don't step it up. So it's just something to think about for me. And that's the end of the episode. I said it's going to be a shorter one, and I think it's actually going to go to be longer than episode 3. Anyway, thank you very much for watching the video. I do hope you have enjoyed it. Make sure to leave it a like if you did. Leave any comments down below. I will see you next week on episode 5 of An Aelfen Adventure. My name is Michael for Tactica Imperialis, and I'll see you all again. Bye for now.